What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Are you not entertained? Let me entertain you. And speaking of entertainment, today on the program, I have Rosanne Baker Thornley, the notorious RBT. Remember those initials. That's pretty much all you need. She's a singer-songwriter out of Ontario, or Toronto, Canada. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, I probably insulted her. Her whole. No. I'm sure the Canadians love each other. I'm sure they do. Maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we won't. I don't know. This week's shows, I have 2 public shows. Yes, 2 public shows. I have my usual Friday night gig at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam. That starts at 8 p.m. until 12:30 in the AM. They got a full bar, kitchen's open, pool tables. They got a pool tournament on Friday nights. So if you want to try your hand at playing pool and possibly make some money while you're doing it, come on out to the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. R-A-B. Hey, that's another 3 letters. RBT, R-A-B. Yeah, I think there's a little theme going on here. And on, that's Friday. And on Saturday, 3 more letters. The VFW, the Choctaw VFW, up there near Clinton. Choctaw VFW, the place to be on Saturday night, this Saturday night, and I think the next Saturday night. So I'm there 2 weeks in a row. So you got 2 weeks of Rab Friday night, this week and next week, and then 2 weeks of Choctaw VFW this week and next week. Choctaw VFW is from I'll probably be there at 8 o'clock, but I think they officially start at 9 and we go till about 12:30 or 1 in the morning. So it's a good time. They got a full bar. They got pool tables. They got a gigantic dance floor, and they got you singing. Yes, you karaoke, video dance party. And, come on out, have some fun. So that's 2 places you can stalk me. You can find me. That's Friday night at the Rab. And then in Conway, Arkansas, and then Choctaw VFW in Choctaw, Arkansas, real close to Clinton. All right, that's enough intro. I'm so excited. 2 public shows. And I know that there's people from either show that usually show up. They're going to be coming to the Rab on Friday, and then they're going to come again on Saturday night. Ooh, so excited. I love it. I love it when people come to the show. Speaking of people that come to the show, I want to see if I can catch a Rosanne Baker Thornley show. Well, you're going to get to know her right about now. I got her on the Skype. Oh, I'm so tongue-tied and twisted, so excited to be talking to Rosanne Baker Thornley. I'm not editing anything. I got her on Skype, so if you're listening to the audio version, I encourage you to check out my video version on YouTube, youtube.com/user/KeysDan. Skyping Rosanne Baker Thornley, RBT, now. Rosanne Baker Thornley, the notorious RBT, in the house.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, I say you're a pretty good, maybe very good singer, but such a great songwriter. Oh, my goodness. We're talking telling stories. And if every one of those songs, and you don't put them out like, some of these kids are putting songs out every week. Pam, 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 pam. Most of them are not that good. Some of them, maybe one every once in a while. All right, it's got some substance to it. You take your time. You craft. You make sure that every word is where it needs to be. Every syllable is on the right pronunciation. And even though I don't pronounce it correctly, but
emphasis emphasis on the right syllables.
Oh my goodness, yes, that's the great Mike Myers made that very very famous. A fellow Canadian of yours, a fellow countryman, I suppose.
That's right.
All right. Let's get. I guess we can skip the formalities. Get down to it, to the brass tacks. Who is a Rosanne Baker Thornley? Because I could just spout praise all over you all day long. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to get behind the music, find out who is Rosanne Baker Thornley, the notorious RBT.
Wow, where do you start? I mean, that's the advantage of being 20 because you only have a few years to go back on. I've been doing this pretty much my whole life, I guess. I've always written. I was actually listening to another writer talking the other day and talking about the fact that he started writing when he was 12. Well, I probably started writing when I was 8. But I really started jumping into my own craft when I was about 14. And that's when I really started writing songs and playing guitar and performing. And so I went through that and in the folk scene, and then joined a rock and roll band and did that for a long time. I was lead singer in various rock bands in Canada. And so I did that for a while, and at one point in time decided I needed to get off the road to start working on my recording career. And I jumped into my first album, which was Courage. And at the same time, it just worked out. I was having a baby at the same time as an album. And so then quickly sort of decided I didn't want to be on the road anymore, stepped off the road again. This is really a condensed version of where I came from. But stepped off the road again, decided that was it. I'd had enough of touring, which was fine. I started my family, which I was loving, and sort of stepped away, not fully stepped away from music, but did step away from being on the road. And then as time went on, I was still writing songs for myself. I was always asked, even from a long time ago, if I would write with other people, which I always said, I'm writing songs for me. But through my life of writing, I was very interested in what other artists were doing, and I'm very focused on writing. You're right. I am extremely focused on writing. I sing because I write. I play guitar because I write. It's all tied to the delivery of the song. Mm-hmm. And so when I was raising my daughter, my husband and I were raising my daughter, our daughter, our daughter.
It's good that you give credit where credit is due. I get it.
Yeah, some credit there. I had an opportunity to do some writing. It was a songwriting challenge that was write 6 songs in 6 weeks. And I thought, I'm up for that. This is actually where I met Michaelin, who you know.
Oh, yes.
Right. Yes. And there was a songwriting challenge, 6 songs, 6 weeks. And I thought, you know what? I'm gonna take that on. And it was like literally a switch went back on in my brain, and I just, to the point of being in my car one day, driving to a recording studio to record one of the songs, and out loud in the car, I went, "Wow, where did you go?" And then I stepped back in as a writer. I stepped back in, started writing with people, and I was loving that. I was loving that I was writing heavy metal. I was writing country. I was writing jazz. I was writing singer-songwriter. And in the background was always me. I was always writing songs for me. And just before COVID, I guess, I decided that I really wanted to be current me when it came to what people were listening to. Mm-hmm. And 28 years between albums.
Take your time. Take your time.
Yeah, right? I mean, it didn't take me 28 years to write those songs because I had a vast amount of songs to choose from. But I decided, and I got a Factor grant. I don't know if you're familiar with Factor, is an organization in Canada.
I'm not.
That supports artists. You apply for grants, and it's like, apparently they say it's like winning the lotto. But I decided to do an album and be current me. So it felt good to have my own material out there again, because I'm behind so many people you wouldn't even know. I love that you don't know. I'm in these. I like with Michaelin, you wouldn't know, and I love that I blend that much with the artists, but this is truly me. This is where I'm at right now in my life, is with these songs on Sorry I'm Late. Yeah.
All right. If you did it, that what you just gave us was maybe the top 2, maybe 3 paragraphs of your Wikipedia page. If you were writing your own Wikipedia article, you condensed it very, very tightly. Now, you did mention that you had some kind of a grant. You're part of the British Empire. Yes. Canada is part of the British Empire. Isn't all the arts or some of the arts kind of subsidized by the government? That's why a series of television shows might be 6 episodes, and that was the whole year. And then the arts, the plays, the music. Isn't that all subsidized by the government at some point, or is there? I guess I'm mistaken.
No, that's a good idea, though.
Okay, I thought there was something to that, to where they they helped to make the shows, make the programs. They subsidize the arts. Is there any of that?
They do. There are various programs. There are some great programs, and I know that's very different here than it is in the States, because there are some great funding bodies here. But it is definitely a process of being awarded. It's not just sign up and you'll be brought into the queue here. It is you have to have your ducks in a row, so to speak, and give them insight into what it is you're going to do and what the value of that is to the industry.
I know that there's grants for certain kinds of things. In fact, I was listening to a podcast today, grants in the U.S., but I think the forms, the process of filling out all these forms in triplicate and duplicate, duplicate, triplicate, and quintuplicate is daunting. So people just give up before they get to sign their name.
It's, it is. I was going to say that when I was off from doing so much music, I opened up a advertising and branding firm, because my side job with music was always doing graphic design. And so I ran a branding firm for many years in there, still very creative and still lots of writing. But part of that writing was writing proposals, writing marketing documents, establishing what a particular personality was on paper. So yes, when you're doing anything up here and you're applying for grants, there are grant writers up here. Mm-hmm. There's people that's what they do. They write grants, and I think it took me I wrote one for a friend at one point, and it took me 120 hours to write his. He got the grant, which was great. Mm-hmm. But it's like writing a book. It's usually about 30 pages of information about why me.
Well, your two jobs are kind of distant cousins. I got into DJing. I started on the radio. Even before that, I was the DJ for the high school. For private parties. Whenever we had a party, hey, bring your records and your turntable. Are you going to help me? Yeah. Sure, we'll help you. No, they never help you. No, but and then getting on the radio is kind of like that, but you're helping to promote other people. So you doing your graphic designing was helping to get other people off the ground. Yes, you made $1, maybe $2, but you designed their logos. You helped them brand themselves. I mean, you have this long moniker, this long name that you've been put to you, Rosanne Baker Thornley. But you've shortened it down to RBT, and you have a little logo, RBT. It's easy to see that logo, and then they think of you, and they go, oh, yes, I have to go check out her YouTube page, and, I have to go find her at that coffee shop with her guitar playing. My goodness, I need to go back. Toronto, big town? You've always been in Toronto?
Yes, I've always gravitated back to Toronto, but I've also lived in other places. I lived in Paris, France for a while. I lived in Geneva for a while. That mostly when I was younger with my father, who was, funnily enough, in the advertising world, and also a musician, just funny. But yes, I've always come back. Toronto is my home base. It really is. I mean, there's a lot of great places out there, but I've always come back. Yeah. Okay.
That's leading me to believe that all the songs are on your YouTube page, and you've only given us a few of them that you've actually put out and produced and mixed and mastered. But I'm thinking that is the story of your life, at least for the last 3 years. Because 3 years ago, you have this song, Indiana Jones, and it's talking about the COVID.
Oh, yeah.
It's talking about the stay home. It's talking about take care of yourselves. Is that where okay, you said you were in all kinds of rock bands, all kinds of collaborations previous to that when COVID came out, and I know a lot of creatives became even more creative because they had to find different ways to go within themselves and get content out there, get stay noticed. Because if you don't keep putting stuff out there on the social media, people will forget about you. They will, Rosanne who? RBT who? So you have to keep putting stuff out there. It's the way of the world. And I guess it's always been that way. Used to be, records, 8 tracks, cassettes, CDs, and now it's on your Instagram. But tell me about, am I right that March of 2020, you reinvent yourself? Is that what it is?
Well, what's funny is I even further, just a little further back. I'm just going to explain something, then I'll get to Indiana Jones because that's interesting. I had written a song which isn't even on the album, but it's called "I Am Poetry," and I wrote it thinking I'll get somebody else to sing this. It's a nice song. This would be good for somebody to sing. Then I had somebody else sing it, but it was like, well, I don't know. It really connected with me. That song very much connected with me. And I thought, well, I'll get somebody else to sing it. And so I had someone sing it. I was just like, no, that's not doing it for me. I had somebody else sing it. No. So my producer said, maybe this is your song. And I'm like, no. I'm done with that part of my life. I'm writing now. That was a song I wrote and thought maybe I could pitch it to somebody, but I really do love writing with people in the room. Like I like writing with artists right sitting in front of me, not just here's a song I wrote. I want to write their song with them. But anyway, so it all started with poetry. And then my producer said, well, maybe it's yours to sing. Okay. I said, well, I guess I'll sing it. And I sang it. And then I was having lunch with a friend of mine, another musician, and I said, yeah, I sang that song. And he said, so when are you going to do an album? I said, I'm not doing an album, but I might do a video for this song. And he says, okay. So, you could just see it. You could just see it. Like you can only stay in the wings so long as an artist, right? And then you're right. You need to, it's because it's a method of communication, songs. It's cathartic. It's all these things. It's getting it out of your head, out of your mouth, and dealing with whatever it is. Anyway, so that was with poetry, and I did that. And I started thinking maybe I will do something at some point. Maybe. Indiana Jones. I was sitting here at my computer one day working, and all this is going on. And I'm going, people should just stay home. What is the deal? Just stay home. And I thought, you know what? And I kept hearing the chorus in my head. And I thought, I'm going to write a song about this. And my plan was I was going to get online and play the song, not because I wanted to promote myself as a singer. I just wanted to communicate the message of just stay home. And I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, I'm going to get online tomorrow. I'm going to play a song. Wow, it's been a long time since you really did that. Yeah, but I thought it'd be kind of cool to do that and to get the point across. And she said, and I said, we were talking about, wouldn't it be cool to do a video? Wouldn't it be cool to do a video about all these people I know that are staying at home? And that's what we did. She said, don't do it online tomorrow. Let's do this video. She was, Pirko Sari, she was a director and she was doing video. And so we contacted all our friends. There's one, her friend was in Ethiopia. I had friends in the UK. I had friends here, friends in the States. And I said, just send me a clip of what you're doing at home. And that's what we did. We took the song and we also reached out to the Global Food Bank because I thought, well, it's nice to do this, but now it's turning into a bigger project. How can we actually make change somehow beyond just telling people to stay home? And we worked with the Global Food Bank and helped fund, had people donate also to their local food banks. Yeah. So, and then it was like, okay. And I just recorded that in here. That was nothing fancy. It was like live off the floor, complete, no fixes.
No, I love that you have this platform and you're able to use it, for something that you believe in. You can sing, use that power, for a cause. Even the great Dolly Parton retooled Jolene for vaccine. If you have this platform, you have this ability, it's a superpower. Whether people agree with you or not, you have ideas, you have thoughts, and you have the ability to express them. And you have this power to turn your ideas into a song. And I do appreciate that you take the time to make a video, because I'm a child of the MTV era. I remember the first video that came out in 1982 or 81 or 2, when video killed the radio star. And I've been hooked ever since. My goodness. Yeah. And I know that there was music videos before MTV came out. I remember the Friday night videos, and even Elvis had Jailhouse Rock. But I'm a very visual person. So ever since I had the ability to play videos at the club, and I will be playing some of your videos at the club on Friday night and Saturday night. I have 2 public shows this week. So Rosanne Baker Thornley will be heavily promoted and heavily featured in both of those shows, because, people got to chill as well. It's not the kind of club, it's a club for people our age, in the midlife. Okay. And I know you have, I'm not talking out of school, telling your age, because you have a song that even says, hey, I'm 50 and I'm looking at 60. And, you have no fear. A lot of creatives, especially the actors, the ladies, the actors, and even the male actors, they have a fear of growing old, but you have to own your age. Love it. But,
there's so much you bring. It's the experience. I don't think a performer is ever too old to share what's in their heart. And the older you get, the more perspective you have on things. And the more interesting, to some degree, the more interesting you can become, because you do go deeper. You go deeper, and you can. I remember writing with somebody one day, and they said, how is it you know exactly what I mean? I'm like, well, I know. It's like, I know exactly what you're talking about in this. And it was a young artist. And then, the next day I was working with somebody else, and same comment about, and I thought, gee, how is that? Well, yeah, I've lived a lot of this stuff. I understand what you've been through my eyes. And that's what I write a lot. That's what I write. I write it through my eyes. And to your point about envisioning it and video, when I write, I literally see it in my head. I am in that room, like the song Because of Me. The person I'm singing that to when I'm writing it is sitting right in front of me. So all the emotion goes along with what I'm crafting and what I'm saying and what I'm feeling when I'm singing that song. Same with in Paris, which you've probably seen too, one of the videos. And I have a new video that's coming out in a couple of weeks called for the song Give Me One More Night. But again, this new video is shot from a very cinematic perspective, as they all sort of are, but even pulling me out of it a little more. So it's just a film on its own. I mean, that's how people are describing my music these days, is saying it's cinematic. This is perfect.
Yes, you have an acoustic version of the Because of Me. That you're sitting there with your guitar. It's pretty cut down. You singing your song, which is wonderful. But when you tell, I know back in the 80s when that's back in the 1900s, kids, my dear listener. Okay, back in the 80s when artists were making their songs, they not only had to think about the music that they were writing, but they also had to think about the visual. So a lot of them were, they'd get their fancy clothes on, get on a stage, have a bunch of extras and do that thing. But some of them, I know Michael Jackson and Madonna, the greats, they would tell whole stories. They'd be on the beach. They would do a whole monster movie for a song. These are the ones that not only sing the songs, they also have creative ideas that way. You with your visual arts, you have not only the music, but also the visual. Being a graphic artist, you have all of that swirling around that head of yours. I'd be almost frightened just to dive into your head and see what's going on. But I'd probably enjoy. I'd probably enjoy it for a little while.
I also do a lot of photography as well, and I've often said if I wasn't writing so much, I would be definitely diving further into my photography because it's the same thing. When I'm taking a picture of someone, I really see them. And I mean, I really see all the way the depth of them. And I'm taking a picture and I'm actually capturing the moment. To me, that's the same as a song. It's really capturing the moment and walking somebody through the moment. And it's the same with my photos. I do a lot of black and white photography, people in candid sort of everyday situations. And I love that. I really do love that.
Well, yeah. I know I'm going to sound a bit like a stalker, which sometimes I am, and it's quite accurate. But, you look at your Facebook pictures, almost all of them are black and white. And my wife always tells me, because she loves photography as well. She loves great photographs. But she says, if you could see the color in a black and white picture, you could almost see the color coming through, the crispness. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. And I know the ones on Facebook, once you put them on there, they lose, so much of the quality. Oh, but still, you can feel that you took the time to set up this shot to make sure that person was in the best possible position. Being okay. When I was in high school, they had an ASVAB test, and it was kind of a placement test. What would you be most interested? And my top two were beautician and photographer. And I think those two go hand in hand because it's all about its vanity. It's making people look their best, feel their best, and capturing that moment.
Well, it is. It truly is capturing that moment. Like when there's a song on the album, Her Mother's Eyes, and I was taking some photography of my daughter's the morning of her wedding. And the pictures I captured, I was looking at them online one night doing some editing, and there was one picture in particular. I could feel the emotion from her in that photo of her sitting there, getting her hair and her makeup, whatever was, putting her veil on, whatever, all those things. And I literally, it sounds crazy, but I literally sat there for at least an hour and a half, totally embedded in that shot going, I need to write about this. And that's what came out of it, is that song, is Her Mother's Eyes. It was just that moment.
Oh my! Oh, see, and that's another thing that you get inspiration from. You have life experiences. Mm-hmm. Everybody has life experiences, but once again, I'm amazed that you could turn them into song, and then in turn turn them into a video, a mini movie about that song, a 3-minute, 4-minute movie that describes that song even more. And I know you've been saying my producer and this songwriter that I was singing with. I want you to give credit where credit is due. I want you to name names. I want them to know that you appreciate them. My producer is this.
Okay, so I can tell you who was involved in the project. So my producer is Will Scholar. Will is originally from the UK, is now living in Canada, and what I love about working with Will, and I've done work with him with other of my other artists. We've actually worked on, again, Michaela, some of her songs, and other people as well. But he serves the song. He doesn't just go, well, this is what my sound is, and he puts his sound on it. He truly listens to what the song needs. So it's definitely serving the song and the artist to say, what do we need here? So Will Scholar produced it, did a lot of the playing on the album as well. He's a multi-instrumentalist, so there's much that he did as far as playing. Playing on my album was Mark Kelso, who played drums, Kevin Fox, who played cello. It was pretty limited to how many people. And then as far as writing, I wrote most of the songs. I have a co-writer I worked with. His name is Northeastern. So we wrote a couple of the songs because we did a lot of writing over the past few years with other artists. So North wrote a couple songs with me for the album. And Ben Pelchet mixed it. These are all people I work with ongoing. Andy Krem mastered it. It was recorded at Kensington Sound in Toronto, which is a studio that's been here for 50 years. So I think, is that everybody? I think that's pretty much everybody. And Vazy Taya, who owns Kensington, also engineered one of the songs as well. Michael Rycraft, who's no longer here, designed my album cover for me. who loved the album. He just was always telling me, he was always crying listening to it. So anyway, his favorite song was Sorry I'm Late. So yeah.
Well, I did want to ask you about Northeastern, because it's not only you wrote with him, you have a whole website dedicated to the rbtne.com. It sounds like, is that a writing team that you have him as a partner for a while?
We haven't been doing much writing in the past few years because he's sort of moved on to different things. But we wrote an awful lot of songs together, and it was definitely a solid partnership as far as our ability to write some great songs together. Same thing with envisioning, writing stuff, closing your eyes and saying, so what do you see? So walking through things together. So yeah, we did a lot of writing. So yes, there is still the RBTNE website. There's also That First Song. It was another website, is my my writing site to write with young artists. And yeah.
I was compiling a bunch of links to put in the show notes, and one of those is in there as well. Yeah, I have the Song Whip and your Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. But oh my goodness, now I do want to go and talk about your life a little bit as a young Rosanne Baker, as a little baby Rosanne. You said your mother and father were both musicians, or just dad?
My dad, it was when I have great memories of my dad. Of when I was younger, he played saxophone, he played recorder, and he also played classical guitar. But I used to sing along to him playing recorder. That was definitely a thing we did. We had a songbook. I still remember the songs we sang. And then he started playing classical guitar, and then he also played saxophone.
Oh, I do love the fingers going up and down on the classical guitar. To hear somebody who can do it so well, and it's the speed, that really intrigues me. But was he out gigging? Did you ever get to go see him gigging? No, he was never gigging. He was always the stay-at-home, just enjoy it for himself. And he was also a great lover of literature. So my father also, while he was in the world of advertising for a while, owned what he would call pre-owned bookstores, as far as pre-owned books. And we had a private library of about 20,000 books. Wow. So I come by words very honestly in my life. Sure. The description of heaven, yes. A library of 20,000 books at your disposal. That's fantastic. Yes. So beautiful.
Lots of books. I was very well read when I was younger. So because I had time, and I was always going into our school library saying, especially science fiction back then, what do you got that's new?
Well, that's what you got from your pappy. What did you get from Mama?
Pardon me? Oh, my mother. My mother, she would be very design oriented and very creative she was very creative as far as it came to interior design and things like that. That was her very much an aesthetic to what she did.
Well, for those that are listening to the audio version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version, because I'm looking at your space and it's very inviting, very warm. And you have so many guitars in the background. There's one electric hanging up there, but I'm seeing a stack of acoustics that, sounds like a dream, But tell me about the gear that's hanging out behind you. Tell me about that one guitar that's hanging up on the wall, and then the ones that are behind you.
Well, can you see that
there's
one
two.
There?
Yeah, there's two of them hanging on the wall.
Hanging up. That guitar is. Let's see. They're trying to lean that way. It's like doing it in the mirror. I am the curator for a songwriting initiative called the Acoustic Guitar Project, and I think I've been doing it. Oh my goodness! I think it's 6 years now. But what it is, it's an initiative that's out of New York City by Dave Adams, who is the fellow that started it up. And he's a great lover of music, but I don't think he plays. He doesn't really play guitar, but he has a great appreciation for songwriting. So he started this initiative where 50 cities around the world, each city has a curator, and he gets them a guitar. And what happens in each city is, me as a curator, every year find 5 songwriters, and they get the guitar. You can't plug it in. You have to write a song, record it on some basic, like your phone or a little handheld recorder, no effects, because it's not about production. It's all about the writing. And then it goes to the next writer. So every year there's 5 writers that are part of it. I love being part of it. And as a matter of fact, the first year you're able as a curator to write one song during your curated, title. I wrote Give Me One More Night, which is now one of the songs that's on my album. And so that hanging up on the wall there is the guitar, and you sign the guitar. It's got probably 30 signatures on it now.
Well, that's separating the musicians on this level from the musicians on that level. If they can do it all stripped down, acoustic guitar with the minimal amounts of recording equipment. This is, I don't know. I've heard of the tiny desk on public radio. Oh, yeah. Is it something like that where they just strip it down a little bit?
Well, it's definitely stripped down, because it's like, it is your voice and your guitar, and it's one take. There's literally no production. I say to people, look, if you want a bit of reverb, I don't know, play in a big warehouse or play in a marble bathroom or the hall or somewhere you can get some reverb, because it's stripped right back. So it's the Acoustic Guitar Project .com, I guess is what it is. And you'll see all the cities there. So that's what that guitar is. The telly was a gift from my husband for Christmas one year. He figured I needed an electric guitar. And my husband used to be my road manager. So I married my road manager.
See, and that's fantastic. That's how you keep the family together. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard on a family being a touring musician. And I want to talk a little bit about priorities. I know we can get back to the gear and stuff, but you have priorities in your life. You started off. Yeah, I mean, you had to one up the guy who was started at 12 years old and say, I started at 8. So there. But, you started at a very young age, at least writing the poetry and thinking about the music and the melodies. When did you start picking up the guitar to where you can accompany yourself and start? And did you actually learn how to read and write music, or is this all by ear? I know so many musicians that don't even know how to read music, and they've never studied. They've never done the theory. Tell me about how far you went with that.
Well, what I did was, when I was in grade, oh my goodness, when it must have been grade 4, you pick an instrument in school. I picked violin. So you have lessons at school, and they're group lessons. And I remember being in violin lessons with a friend, and she played violin as well. And we would be flipping to the back of the book and playing parts, and they'd say, okay, now back to page 13. So she ended up actually playing with the Toronto Symphony. I was sent to my room to practice violin, but I was kind of losing interest in violin, and I used to turn it sideways and strum it. So that's probably, how old would I have been then, in grade 5 or 6, right? Was that about 12, maybe? Yeah. And then just after that, my parents were separated, and I moved to Paris with my father. And because of his classical guitar playing as well, I really started picking up guitar a lot. When I was 14, I was fully embedded, and I was listening to Melanie. Do you remember Melanie?
Yeah, the brand new key.
Yeah. I loved Melanie. I was listening to Leon Russell. I was listening to Harry Chape. I was listening to all very songwriter. And just I actually auditioned for a role on a radio show and got that when I must have been 15 at that point, 15 or 16. So did that and just kept playing guitar, joined, then I came back to Canada, was singing backup in a rock band. And then, fell in love with the guitar player, who then we started a band and started traveling. And I was then now the lead singer in a rock and roll band, which was good. You know what? Life on the road is invaluable. It is. It teaches you a lot about the climate that you're trying to make your way through, right?
Well, I mean, but when you did the radio show, was that a French show? Was that in?
Yes.
Wow, you know French.
But I was singing in English. My French, I studied French at the Alliance Française when I was over there. And so my French was okay. but they wanted me to sing in English. So I was writing songs and singing in English.
Okay. I did a bilingual station down in Miami where I know enough Spanish to do a bilingual station. I couldn't do one that was pure Spanish, but it was like, we would introduce songs in English and Spanish and Spanish songs in English, but it was kind of fun like that. But, okay. So you were touring. Yeah, where were you touring? Were you touring in Paris, or were you touring around Toronto, or how far did RBT get out into the world doing the touring?
Well, when I was playing in Europe, I primarily was playing in Paris. That's primarily where I was playing. I might have been doing some things outside of Paris, but at that age, I wasn't touring for sure. When I moved back to Canada, I then moved to Calgary for a while, where I was doing sort of the folk scene with my guitar. And that was all good. I mean, that was fine. But then when I joined this band and with the boyfriend out in Calgary, that's when we started touring, moved back to Toronto, and then I was on the road 24/7. I was managed by a fellow here and was booked through the agency here, and I was booked all the time. We were just definitely a touring band. We followed that yellow line all the time.
Yeah, this is hard on a family. So you were carefree. You were footloose and fancy free at the time. Back then. And then in meeting my husband, who was also a drummer, he joined my band as a lightman and road crew. I didn't even actually want him. He said, well, we're bringing Mike along. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to pay him. You're going to have to pay him out of whatever you make. And they're like, okay, we'll pay him. And we just became great friends, and life on the road, and ended up getting married. Yeah. Well, a long time ago now. You got to watch out for the rhythm section. They will beat themselves into your heart. Yeah, watch out, because that's the heart. That is the soul between the drummer and the bass guitar. Those are the guys that are keeping that song going. Oh yeah. Watch out for the drummers. Yeah. Oh, for sure. But no, I'm fantastic. I'm glad he's now your ex-boyfriend and now your current husband. That's fantastic. That's beautiful.
It worked out. It did work out. But I don't know. I joke that it's only been 30 some years. Maybe it's too soon to tell.
I think it's going to work out. I think you give it a chance. It's, kind of like these computers. They're going to catch on eventually,
Yeah, you think. And I love technology when it works.
It does most of the time. I'm so happy that our internet connection is staying well. I could do these with people all over the world. And, primarily this is a learning podcast. And right now we're learning from you, Rosanne Baker Thornley, RBT, notorious RBT. Oh, I love that. I love that you have initials. The people don't even have to remember your whole name. Just remember RBT. Yeah. And pretty much stuff comes up if you look up RBT. But I think Rosanne Baker Thornley, I want people to look up that name and find you everywhere. I mean, all over the place. But let's continue. You met that good drummer, and you started to make a family, and then you said, "No, I got to get off the road." Priorities. Yeah. So is it the one daughter that just got married? That's it.
The one daughter. It's just the one daughter. And I was just going to say, when I first found out I was pregnant, and I was just at the beginning of work building the first album, I remember saying to my manager, "I got some news for you." And he was like, "Okay." He was my manager and my producer, and I told him I was pregnant. And I tell you, he just like deer in headlights. And I said, "I'm okay with this. I have a lot of energy, and I was confident that I had enough energy to do everything I needed to do. And I did. I did have enough energy. What I didn't expect was that my passion was going to change. And all of a sudden, my passion was my baby, my husband, my life, doing that. And it's funny because it makes me feel teary-eyed even thinking about, because it was a massive decision, but it wasn't really a decision, because this is not a calling in music that you can do fully unless your heart's fully in it. Yeah. You have to be, it needs the depth, the investment. There's too much going on in this business that's difficult to deal with. And if you don't believe in why you're doing it or what you're doing it for, or it doesn't resonate inside, I don't know how you keep going because there's so many walls at times. So that's when it was in the moment of shooting a video. I was shooting a video for my song Bird with a Broken Wing. And my husband had ridden up on a bike with my daughter, and they were calling me back to the set. I took a break, but I was standing there, and they said, "You got to come back and finish." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm coming. And all of a sudden I watched them riding away. And it was in that moment I went, I don't want to go that way. I want to go that way. So I have moments like that. Those are massive moments to me because they're so definitive of what is going on. And that's when and it was the same with me being in the car, coming back in fully again, going, where did you go? Right? So yeah, those are real moments of clarity, I'll tell you.
Oh, you had a very vigorous crossroad or fork in the road where you wanted to go this way or that way, and you chose that way. Yeah. People, they talk about canceling them for what they did when they were 18. You're not the same person you were when you were 18. You're better than the worst thing you've ever done. All right. Yes, I made a mistake way back when, but I'm not that person anymore. And you have priorities. You know. All right. And I think about multitaskers as well. There's no such thing as a multitasker. You can only do one thing at a time. Yes, you can have maybe 4 or 5 things on your desk, but you have to concentrate on that and then concentrate on this and then concentrate on that. I could see you being a singer, songwriter, and a mother, but you can only concentrate on one of those at a time. And you chose motherhood. You chose being a wife. You chose having a family. That's, amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. And you know what? I have no regrets about that.
Why would you?
I really don't. No, because people say so. Because yes, there's so many things that you do in my life I passed on. But when I look at them, I passed on them for good reason. And not just being a mother, associated with being a mother, just decisions. Someone offers you something like, I'm going to take you to LA and we're going to work with you. Well, let me think about this a little bit. I don't know if that's right now. So I've always been pretty solid in my belief system as far as definitely going with my gut.
Yeah. And you raised a person who was good enough to find another person that loves them and they got married. That's fantastic. Yeah, you've done the job that you needed to do. Now, hey, if the fork in the road or whatever, it's still there, then you can head this way again. And you did. Okay, now you're done raising your daughter, and you go back into music. How does that work out?
It's great. It's great. My daughter, actually, it's funny. My daughter was a ballerina for a while. She's now running her own company, but she's also studied photography at one point in time. So she does a lot of my behind the scenes photography, like all of those videos. She will be somewhere in there behind the scenes of taking photos and amazing photos. So she's very good at it, but she didn't follow it, just didn't have the passion to follow it all the way through to do it full time. But it's good. It's good.
Well, every artist needs one of those, needs a good photographer. I know that there's a cosplayer that I talked to on the podcast. She married her photographer. I said, I know what you did. You married your photographer. You married your drummer, your stage manager, so you can keep them close. Yeah. I'd see what you did there.
Yeah.
But
and I'll tell you a bit of an irony in here is when my daughter, she was living in the UK. And at one point in time when she told me she'd met somebody, and I said, oh, that's good. And she said, yeah, he's a guitar player. And I'm like, oh, all right.
Oh,
no. But he is a phenomenal guitar player. And as a matter of fact, he's my producer.
Yeah.
He produced my album. And I told him, when I asked him if he would be, because we'd worked on other projects with other artists that he'd produced, and I, have great respect for his level of talent and ability. And he's young. He's fairly new into it as well. Not like really new, but he's always played. And I said to him, I'm asking if you'd like to produce my album, not because you're related, because that's suicide. but because you're so good and I like what you do in your production. So,
okay, when you found that out about him, you said, yeah, he's a keeper, honey. He's a keeper.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you need somebody young anyway. I know how to splice tape. I know what a reel-to-reel is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I can cut and splice tape. I can record you on analog. But you need somebody that's real well adversed in these computers with Final Cut and you know, using the Apple tools and Adobe Audition. Yes, I'm recording you on Adobe Audition. The audio version is right there. And then the video version is on my broadcast software. So I know how to do that. But the kids, they were born into it. You know, okay, there was a quote from Batman and Bane. It's like, you've come through the darkness. I was born in it. So he was born in this age of electronics, probably with a phone in his hand, some kind of a screen. So I'm glad that you have him.
Great? What's really great, though, is that he's very much of the analog world. He loves real drums. He loves where it serves, where it makes sense, right? But he leans to real guitar, acoustic, like even on my album. Pretty much everything is a real instrument in there. It's like where needed for sure. So it's a bit of old world, right?
Oh, but it's the recording part that you really need. Somebody with a good ear, somebody who can mix and master. And it was a different world back then when we were growing up. But when I first went to school for audio and I learned the reel-to-reel, and then about 20 years later, I said, you know what? I need to re-up this because it's starting to get away from me. So I had to go back to school and relearn. But you never went to an actual school besides high school, learning the violin. Do you know how to read music just from what the teacher?
My reading is kind of like my French right now because I don't use it a lot. I mean, I can muddle through, but it's not as fluent. But as soon as I step off the plane in Paris, I'm there for a couple days. Oh, it all starts coming back. Oh, yes, I know how to say that now, but I don't know here. It's all like as you maybe similar to you with Spanish, right? You've got the grounded pieces, but there's the pieces in between, so you can't really, but you can understand it.
Yeah.
That's where I am. That's where my French is right now. And it's Parisian French. I mean, we speak French up here as well. That's a bit of a challenge because of accents at times. But my music is much the same. It's like, okay, yes, so yeah, da, 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 da. Yeah, it's slow.
Well, my Spanish is Cuban. And when I talk to the Mexicans here, it's different. It's a lot different. The Mexicans speak better Spanish than the Cubans do. We speak kind of like a New York English, whereas they would speak more of a Spanish from Spain, from España. But wait, there was something I was thinking of, but it fell out of my head as I was rattling on. But
those trains move fast.
They do.
Oh God! Oh damn! What was I going to say? Oh yeah. Well, the other train's coming by now.
Well, we're starting to wind this thing down anyway. I like to keep them about an hour. We've only scratched the surface of who you are. We started the songwriting. You didn't really. I mean, how did you figure out that you can be a front person for a rock and roll band? I guess somebody saw you singing and playing.
It's like I started out singing backup, as I mentioned. Me and another girl, we were both singing backup, and just through again, writing, and all of a sudden meeting a lead singer. Well, I was the lead singer, and I remember one of the first gigs we did. I wasn't like so confident on that stage with my first gig. I mean, I remember the first gig holding on to that mic stand and not opening my eyes for the entire show.
And that's a 15-year-old Rosanne then at that time. You said 15 years old at that time?
No, I would have been older. I would have been probably, I think I was probably about 19. I was about 19 then, 19 or 20. But I was used to having my guitar in my hands. It was like I had no guitar. So now I got a microphone and I'm out front And it was just everything. Now, I mean, I could just chat forever. My husband was like, you could probably talk a little less in between songs.
Well, I remember what I wanted to ask you about. Since you don't write music really or read music, how do you write a song? Is there an app for that? Which app is it?
Oh, no. I very much work I write things down. And when I'm recording music, I record it into my phone or I'll, bring up my program. I work in Logic on my computer and I'm putting down ideas, but I write down my chords. And it's pretty bare bones as far as a piece of paper and a pen.
So you know enough to do that.
Oh yeah.
You know enough to write the little, I don't know, treble clefs and.
No. I don't do notation. No, it's not. That's not writing the music. That's writing down lyrics and writing down the chords. Okay, D, C, and even I'm a bit odd in my guitar playing. Even I do a lot of open tuning, and then I will also do very weird shapes. Like Will, producer, jokes that I don't really play guitar the way a guitar is meant to be played because I will do these odd tunings. Play these weird shapes that I even say to him, what is this? And he's like, it's a diminished, like it's not any straight, oh yeah, that's something. So I write myself into corners as far as having to remember them to replay them. But there's something nice about open tuning. But yeah, as far as I don't write down the music, I record it. I would record it for my melody line.
Well, most people I'm finding that most people that teach themselves how to play guitar or anything, guitar especially, will tune their guitar in weird ways. I think it might have been Lou Reed that was famously would tune a guitar and people would say, hey, what's the sheet music on that? Can you write down the notes? Can you give me the sheet music on that? And then he'd be, no, I just know that I play this and he's tuned it to itself or tuned it to his ear. And it's, it can't be duplicated or not easily anyway.
But it's interesting too, because when you learn music, there's an interesting thing to not learning something formally, I think, because you're really going on gut then. Because I know that I've written things where I've been working with another musician who's very learned, which is great. But I'll say, I'm working on a melody and I'm playing chords, and then I'll go to a chord and he'll go, oh, but that's not the normal place to go. And I'm like, well, it is to me because I don't know what the other places you're supposed to go. So I just do what I feel. I really work off a feel in so much way, in many ways in my life when it comes to what I'm writing about, how I'm singing it, how I'm phrasing it, all of those. It's very much gut. I'm very tuned to my gut.
Have you not studied chord progression? I
know the basics. I know basic things, but my theory is not probably what it should be, but I'm good.
Well, you mentioned someone that in your life that's appreciative of music, but doesn't really play. The one that's with you at the institution that gave you that guitar with the signatures on it. You said he has an appreciation for music, but he doesn't really play. That's me. I've tried to learn how to play guitars. I've tried to learn how to play. I have a full piano out there, and I don't know how to play it at all. I'm very happy that my little girl knows how to play it, and my wife knows how to play it, but I don't know how to play it. I haven't taken the time. I'm too busy talking into microphones and spinning records and spinning Rosanne Baker Thornley records this weekend. Boo, boo, boo. So I'm kind of excited about that.
You got to follow your passion. You got to follow your passion, whatever your passion is, right? That's what you should be doing.
Obviously promoting other people. And that's what, radio, yes, you make $1 or $2 like you did with the graphic design, but mostly it's getting the community together. And the community now is the whole wide world with this internet. Potentially everyone in the world could be watching this at some point. And that's, I love that. I love that you're going to get more ears on your creativity, more eyeballs on your videos. And hopefully you get to make more of a living out of this. I mean, how are people making dollars doing this? Is it writing for other people? You said you wrote for Michelin at some point.
Oh, Michaelin.
I know. I think I was messing up her name when she was on this podcast too.
McKaylin. You know what? It is the business. I call it the business of buckets. So it's right now. There's major challenges in this business as far as anybody making any money. The streaming. I mean, for everybody that talks about, oh, it must be great. No, it's not. I don't know where it's a gray web of how to find your money at times. But anyway, so streaming is a bit of a challenge. So hopefully they'll figure that out. I love Snoop the other day going, so I figure if I have 1 billion streams, where's my $1 million?
Yeah.
Like nothing lines up, and more people are talking about it now. They're not just, it's a bad business model right now for the people that are providing the product.
Yeah. Nobody's buying records. Everyth's free out there.
Yeah. Everything. It's like, as soon as you put it out to the streaming world, there you go. So it is the business of buckets, though, where you've got streaming, whatever that brings in, but you've got sync. Part of my world is promoting songs to sync, right? And I love that, and I pull my other co-writers into that with me, so that I have a person out of LA that represents my music efforts in that initiative. And then there's writing and producing artists. So it's sitting in a room with them, going, okay, what's your story? Let's write something that means something to you. Similar to what I'm writing for myself. It's telling. It's your heart. It's your heart. I'm there to help them. I'm helping guide it based on my experience and what I think is going to work. And then we produce it. I work with a number of different producers, Will being one of them, and we will take that song. So that's another bucket. Mm-hmm. So it's diversification.
Okay. For my loyal listener, let them know, what is sync? I've heard of it.
Oh, sync. Sync is when you're promoting songs for radio, not radio, for television, for movies, for ads, for all different places where they need music. It's called sync.
Have you ever had the opportunity of getting your song in something like somebody else's project?
I think what I've had it in a few other projects with a photographer who was doing a show. This was a song that North and I wrote called Turn, which people would find on the RBT&E site. And it was interesting. I saw a photo exhibit by this photographer, and what it was him asking these inmates, if you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell them to do differently? So they wrote letters to themselves, and then he projected behind them these letters and took pictures of them in front of these letters that they'd written to themselves. I read the letters, and I saw this photography exhibit and was so moved by it. I reached out to North to write the song with me. He wrote a song called Turn. And I loved it when I sent it to the photographer, because he didn't know we were doing it. But it ended up being part of he takes his show on the road to high schools, and it became part of his show, which is, and I love that the message back from the photographer when he first heard the song was, all I did was sit here and cry when I listened to it.
Yeah. And here you're inspiring inmates as well. People in a certain situation. We are better than the worst thing that we've ever done. Yeah. Yes, we made a mistake. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Learn from your mistakes. You got to learn. It's all learning. It's growth and learning, and all the way through. It never stops. You're always learning, for sure.
All right, Rosanne Baker Thornley, RBT, notorious RBT. I know we've only scratched the surface, really, but we have to wind this thing down. I mean, I used to do podcasts that were 2, 3, 4 hours long, and just they was just too much. You got to keep it a little bite size in this. Was it eight? Oh, I can't even remember. What is it? ADD world.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I also like to. Well, you've given some shout outs as we've been going along, but I want you to give shout outs to the people that have helped you along the way. If you have anybody that you want to say hello to.
Oh, well, I would definitely have to, there's a lot of people that have it's like I call some of the people I work with my advisory board. So in particular would be probably Stephen Stone, who has been my legal counsel. So I don't have a manager. He said I would just probably end up managing the manager anyway. But he's been there for a long time in my career. And I think originally he had taken me on as a client because he didn't figure he liked that there was really no simple market for me, that I was doing my own thing, would have to build my own market. So him. And then Dale Peters is a gentleman in Toronto that has been with me since the beginning of doing this album. And he was very excited about me doing it, wanted to work with me. And he looks after my terrestrial radio part of my world, but he's also very insightful and has worked with some great artists and has given me a lot of valuable information. And I bounce things off of him. It's a team effort. What I love about teams is everybody has their minutia, right? Everybody has something that they're passionate about, and it's what they love to do. And I love that my team has that, and I trust the people I work with. And I love working with people that know things I don't know. That's great. Wow, really? I didn't know that. Perfect, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, even as an independent, we have to have people that help us out. You can't do it all by yourself. You can get to a certain level by yourself, but you need some people to help you out. Do you do all your own social media, or you have a team that's doing that?
I had a team doing it. Now I do quite a bit of it myself. I was going to say that Jane Harbury's she does public relations for me, so she's been great. A tour. Adam Bentley did some radio promotion for me and PR for me as well. He's been great. XYZ Marketing, they've been that's what I mean. It's definitely a team effort that goes through different, hills and valleys of what it is I'm asking people to do. Yeah.
Well, what's on the horizon for you, RBT? I mean, are you going to keep writing music? Are you going to be taking it on the road? Can we find you at a local coffee house or on a stage in front of 50,000 fans of your closest friends? So where are we going to find you in the next few years?
I'm just in the process right now of putting together a show that will probably happen in the later fall with my band. I'm also in the process of figuring out a smaller sort of salon kind of show I'd like to do of just me and my guitar, just a little bit of a different perspective on it as well. So that is sort of my plan. I've said from the beginning of this that I'm not going back on the road. Now funny, I say things, we'll write that down. I'm not going back on the road because I've done that. I've done that and I enjoyed it. But I also want to be that person that when I do play, people go, we better go, because she's not going to be there next week to do the same show. So, and I like that. But a big part of my life, as I've mentioned before, is writing with other people. And I'm that person in the wings going, you go do this, man, you are so good. And I love that part of my life. I write with amazing people, and I'm happy for them to be going out and be the voice of the songs.
Yeah, you got to clap for people. My goodness, if they're doing their thing, these kids that are just coming up, they want to be a rapper, you want to be a country singer, you want to be a star. Yeah, go for it. Do it. You see if you have any aptitude for it. If you don't, hey, there's work at the post office. There's other things to do.
Yeah, but I'm not just working with emerging artists. I'm also working with well-established artists who are going, I want a different perspective on this. I want to write, would you help me write my album? So I greatly value that, and I'm very appreciative for it, for sure. And I was also going to mention Jim Catalano.
Okay.
Is that how we got connected?
I think that's how we got connected.
Okay. So, he's behind all these people behind the scenes, right? It's the same thing. There's this, it's me at the front here, but people behind me getting me some visibility. And that's all it really is, right? Is finding people who are interested in listening and feel. I've said from the beginning, I'm hoping that my songs connect with people and make them feel something.
It takes nothing to share on your social media. You see Rosanne Baker Thornley there in her room with a guitar, singing her heart out, doing her thing. Just give it a little share. Share it on your Twitter. I guess it's now X now. I can't figure that out. What happened to my bird? I missed the Tweety bird. But share it on your Twitter. Share it on your Facebook. Share it on your Instagram. Get a little more ears on there. But
Yeah.
my goodness, I've had a good time chatting with you. And I know you said I'm never going to tour again. Cut to 1 year later in front of 50,000 fans, or Rio de Janeiro in front of 150,000 people, like Queen used to do. I could see you. I could see you doing it.
And it's funny now because they'll tell me about followers here. Like Google Translate has become one of my best friends because I'll have people sending me messages in Spanish or Greek and whatever. So I am translating and getting back to them. And they're asking me what are the lyrics, and they can hear, they kind of understand the English, but they're liking other parts of the music as well. So now I'm going, so let's see, Spain. Now I'm going to see where the audience is and think, well, maybe I'll go there.
Well, that's a big responsibility. You're teaching people English all over the world using your songs. Yeah. How about that? Hey, it's another avenue that you're exploring. Graphic design, singer-songwriter, helping the new guys, new girls, helping them out. Yeah. The next generation, helping the seasoned. You're a muse. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. We can go on forever, but we're not going to. Have you told everybody what you wanted to tell them on this podcast?
For the most part.
All right. Yeah, well, I don't want this to be the last time that we talk. I want you to come back when you have stuff to promote, or just when you want to chit chat with me. I need a friend. I always need a good friend. No, now that we know each other, I'm going to be sharing your things on my pages and making sure that a few more ears will listen to Rosanne Baker Thornley. RBT, notorious RBT. I can't get that out of my head. Ever since I saw RBT, it's so simple. 3 letters. Yeah. But I always finish these things off with last words for the people. This could be last words to live by, something you heard a long time ago, maybe a mantra that you wake up every morning, or just whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Rosanne Baker Thornley, the notorious RBT. Give the last words for the people.
I'd say follow your heart and be a good person.
Well, there you have it, party people. Rosanne Baker Thornley, RBT. So cool. All right. She's been doing it since she was 8 years old, and maybe 19. She's on stage singing in front of a bunch of people. And once you get to a certain level, you got all that knowledge behind you, you start helping out the next generation. And that's what she's doing. Not only she's writing songs for herself, she's writing songs for other people. Oh my goodness, Rosanne Baker Thornley, you're so talented. And you're helping people. You're changing lives, changing moods. People were feeling blue. Hey, they listen to one of your songs, get a little story. You got a little story to tell. You got a bunch of little mini stories. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, you got a little story. And then you do a video, even more of a story. It's a story in pictures. So beautiful. So beautiful. Such an awesome thing that you can do. And I don't throw around awesome all that often. It's pretty darn neat that you can take an idea and turn it into a song, and then turn it into a music video, and turn that video into even another aspect of the story. Doesn't have anything to do with the song, but it's a story within the story. It's layers upon layers. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It gets your audio, gets your visual, it gets your brain working. Make you feel good, make you think a little. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be make you feel good. It can make you feel bad. It's just making you think. Yeah, that's what your songs do. They make you think. They make me feel good. So I don't know if anybody's feeling bad. That's on them. But they make me feel good. Rosanne Baker Thornley, thank you so much for being on the podcast, on the What Makes You Famous podcast. I appreciate that so much. And I look forward to talking to you again sometime in the future. That's it for this edition of What Makes You Famous. Now, if you, my loyal listener, if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to give me a call. 501-470-6386 or email keysdan@aol.com. That's it for me. It's keysdan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.